Welcome to our Gemara Shir. Gemara straight and simple. This is the name of our Shir. We're just learning Gemara. Not bedaf, not be'omud, not too deep, not too shallow. We're just learning Gemara, and it's so much fun. And every word you learn, you connect to Hashem in the most tremendous way possible. So let's continue. We are in Shabbos, Kuf Mewopa, more people coming. We are in Shabbos, Kuf Mem Daled Omud Beis. Towards the bottom of the page, we're going to review something we said last week, but this time we're going to see a Rishon inside. A little bit of Yun today. Not too much Yun, but a bit of Yun we can have, right? We are in the, I'm sorry, the screen's moving. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 or so lines. Omar of Yehuda, Omar Shmuel. You cannot start ready from the line Yehuda. That's about 6 lines from the bottom of the page. Omar of Yehuda, Omar Shmuel. This year is Leilo Nishmas, my father, Menachem Ben Akiva, Zichron Levrocha, and and Leilo Nishmas. It's okay. Leilo Nishmas, Sarah Bas Moshe. Today was a Yortzeit, and for the quick release of all the hostages, the tzlocha of the soldiers, may they come back home. Mashiach should do the job for them. Amar B'Yidam Shmuel. We are learning now, for those who don't know, Masechet Shabbos, and the topic is squeezing fruit on Shabbos. Although he said that the most severe, the most stringent part of schita is zeisim v'anovim. In other words, if you want to pick the worst fruit to squeeze on Shabbos, there would be olives or grapes. Why? Because they are mostly for mashke. It's the most normal, accepted way of squeezing, because most of the Heizesim Anovim go towards the liquids, the drinks, the wine or oil, and that's why they are in the top of the list of pairs that are normally used for squeezing. And if you squeeze, that's for sure Nisu Doraisa. Other fruit, maybe the Rabbanon, and other fruit are mutter. However, even Zeisim Anovim, if you squeeze the Anovim straight into the Kedera, meaning there is a pot. We're assuming the pot is full of solid food. You're making some kind of solid food, and now part of the recipe calls for fresh juice. I'm not going to buy the regular or grape juice from the supermarket and put it in the dish. I'm going to take mamish fresh anovim, a cluster of grapes, and squeeze it straight into the solid food. That's allowed. That's allowed, even allowed today. We will see some exceptions, but that's allowed. Why not letocha keoro? Why is it allowed? We're going to explain soon. Lo letocha keoro. Why not letocha keoro? You can't squeeze it into an empty bowl. Keoro is assumed to be empty, just a plate, a bowl, not with food inside. And there, why? Because when you squeeze it into an empty bowl, the drinks remain drinks, which means when you squeeze it into the kedero, it's moving from being one food to another food. In other words, it was a solid food, anovim. Now it is squeezed into, let's say, fruit salad. Fruit salad is not cooked, doesn't make it. Nice fruit salad. And the mitzvah anovim is squeezed and trickling and mixing straight away with all the other fruit over there that are solid, all the apples and oranges and the kiwis. So now it moved from fruit to fruit, and that's why that's allowed. Because I know schita means moving something from solid into liquid, and this is solid into solid. We're going to see a much clearer explanation by the Tosfos read soon. I'm going to read it inside. And that pshat, Mashenken. If you squeeze anovim straight into an empty bowl, that empty bowl, and you swear to Hashem, and you know 100%, that in literally 3 seconds you're going to pour that from that bowl into solid, that's too late. Because you did move it from solid to liquid. Now you chose to put it into liquid, that's already second stage. But it's not nicker. Rashi says that's already, it's not in Maristein. The whole mahus of the Maisa, it doesn't prove, it's not evident, but what I'm doing, that I'm doing mashke solid to solid. I'm doing solid to liquid. Now the liquid is moving to the solid. Too late. As I did move it, there was that moment of turning from solid to liquid. Too late. Before I see the Tosfos read, and no, actually, I'd like to read you a piece of Tosfos read. And I ask you a question, which I kind of said it already back then, what he's saying, but differently. Let me ask you a question. You're talking about solid liquid. What's the story? When you take out, what's the Av Malocha? Let's never ever forget the Av Malocha. Whenever you discuss Malochas, what's the primary, the first, historically speaking, what's the father of all evils? What's the father in the Mishkan of Dash? Dash is the Av of Soichet, of squeezing, is when you take solid from solid. You take the what? The grain of wheat or samimonim from the chaff, from the husk, right? So that's also solid to solid. Why over there? Why is that okay over there? The answer is quite simple, and that is over there we're talking about taking food from soilers. When you take the grain, which is yummy and good and going to be the next bread from the klipa, from the shell is soilless, and this is oichel. Here, you have to take liquid from solid, but not solid from solid. How do you reconcile both points? Look at the Tosfos. Tosfos says it's not a long piece. You can copy it even if you don't have the text in front of you. At the end of the day, right? You're taking food. Let's call that food, right? In other words, let's call that grape juice that now trickled straight into the fruit salad. Call it oichel. But so what? The grape, right, is still considered relatively psoilus. Now the rest of the grape you're going to throw in the garbage. Psoilus. Chitim also, you take good from the bad, solid to solid. Same thing here, solid from solid. Tshuva, interesting lotion varishon. Tshuva, Tosfos read. Kol hanovim kmo shen chazi la'achila v'en b'hem psoilus. Can you take a grape and eat it whole, the whole grape? Yes. Can you eat it with the whole thing with a cover? What I'm saying with a zag? Yeah. Gilkach afagav disachit lumatik manayu psoilus. You squeeze them, and now you chochem gadol. Now you view what's left behind as psoilus. But at the beginning, everything was yummy. I eat the entire grape. I don't mind swallowing the little bits either. Let's say, yeah. This is food. Grapes is beautiful. I love grapes. Good food, right? Now, what did you take out of it? Other food. The other mashke, now completely merging into the melting pot of the solid. Listen to the lotion. Unbelievable. He's doing the lotion from more Beitza. It's as if you're cutting bread. Yeah, it was a big piece of bread, a small piece of bread, or crumbs. It's more or less the same. You had one type of food, yummy food, 100% good food. And now you have different food. Now it's mixed with the kiwis and the thing. Aval vade kibarlo lemashke en kol hanovim ru'is l'shtia. M'she'en ken, if you want to take the anovim and make them into a drink, that's a different story. The anav is not meant to be drunk. All I want is wine, grape juice. For me, vis-a-vis the new mashke, the rest is psoilus, is garbage, right? It's already, of course, it's not garbage mamish, but yachasit relative to the mashke that I want. I'm talking regular schita now. I'm squeezing anovim, grapes, in order to have the grape juice or the wine. I want a nice, fine Chardonnay wine. So vis-a-vis that, the solid relative to that is a garbage for my new need. Hilkach told the dash, and that is yes similar to dash. Shen kol shiboilus is not edible. Shiboilus is not edible. Part of it is, most of it is not. The stalk, the chaff, the husk are not royal achila, right? Only the grain. So when you take good out of bad, that's dash. And when I take grape juice out of the grapes, like by boirer, it's all relative. Relative to drinks, this anov is what? Is garbage. Because I want to drink. It's an unwanted matzav when I have the grape. I have the grape, now I have a new thing. Oh, now it's business. Grapes, I want wine. The shenken, when I have grapes that are edible, and my new item is also edible, it's all the same. Right? Then it's a cutting bread. It's good from good. Because I wanted solid before, I want solid now. Mimela, that's not called dash. Heilige, beautiful Tosfos read. Teure, and because of the vowel. So now let's continue. Amar B'chizda, B'diva Rabbeinu Nilmad, from the words of Shmuel we can learn, our Rabbi Shmuel we can learn, Chaylev Odom Eiz L'tocha K'deira, V'lo L'tocha Kiara. Whoppa, listen to this. You're allowed to not squeeze, you're allowed to milk a goat. By the way, the Rishonim say goat is lavdafka, goats are just more commonly, apparently back then, goats were very common, today it's more cows, but you're allowed to milk kosher animals from the others, milk it, squeeze it. You have what would you like to put milk in? I don't know, pasta. You want pasta with some milk, yeah? You have a bowl of pasta, put it under the others, and squeeze it straight, the milk straight into the pasta. That's allowed. Same idea. On Shabbos, we're going to discuss whether it's Shabbos or Yom Tov, but according to most Rishonim, it's Shabbos. Kioro is empty. There you cannot do. Okay, says Tosfos, Akiva, says Tosfos, must be here, we're talking in Yom Tov, not in Shabbos. Why? Because it says on Shabbos, an animal is psoilus, it's muktzeh, because there's nothing you can do with an animal in Shabbos. So then, according to Tosfos, it's like taking, it's like taking from the bed, from garbage, something good. From the husky shiboilus, you take out the grain because you can't use the animal. Mashenk in Yom Tov, the animal is also food. I can shecht it at any given moment. Because I can shecht the eiz is yummy food on Yom Tov. I didn't shecht it yet. I'll call the shecht in 5 minutes. So if you take food from food, that's okay. That's nice. Look, it's a shiny. I'm not good. It's just same. It's very good now to test the read. Of course. That's why I read you both. Yeah. I alma kasova. Oh. Here comes the punchline. Mashke habale oichel hu. Mashke, that otherwise would be a mashke. Milk is super mashke. Wine, super mashke. Oil. But if it right away goes into food, already at the beginning, while it's mid-air, between the udder and the pasta that's underneath, yeah? Or between, the grape and the thing underneath, the fruit salad, the kdeira, it's already then called, with my machshava, I'm designating it for what? Oichel. They'll be part of a solid dish. That mashke has shem solid. So nice that everything's connecting. Because we said in order to make something into liquid, you have to want it as you squeeze it out to be liquid. Discussed about cholov, right? Cholov, no, but I'm saying most things. Okay, so it's called oichel. Now the problem is, let's go back to Tumah V'Tahara, and I'll give you a small introduction, which by now shouldn't be so hard. And that is, let's say I'm milking milk into the nice, I don't know, some kind of milky dish, yeah? Solid from the others into the solid thing underneath. So that milk, as it's leaving the other, is called oichel, not mashke, right? Okay. You tell me, guys, that milk, let's say it's touched by a dead sheretz, instead of hitting the pasta, it's hitting the dead mouse that's there in the cow shed. So is it mekabel tuma? It's called oichel. No, it's not mekabel tuma because it wasn't touched by mashkim. It's real oichel. No, it's one of the real big boys, oichel. In other words, because this is called oichel, it's mamish considered to be solid because in his machshov it's already on its way to be part of a solid dish. Mimela, if it's not touched by different mashke, it should not receive tuma. Because oichlim, that's what I was taught since I'm in Kita Daled. It's the first thing we learned to remember when I was in Kita Gimel, I think. We all know about the Sheva Mashkim, right? You can't have food, Mekabel Tuma, unless it's Shad Sheva. It looks like milk and feels like milk and very nice and creamy and very liquidy. Who cares? Allah views that as solid. So it's solid. Okay. So it has to be touched by other mashkim. Oh, now we're gonna get into trouble deep. Zav, Mr. Zav, what's the difference? It's not a quiz, you can answer if you want. There are a few differences between Tumas Zav and his friends, Zav, Zava, and those that have the Tuma emanating from their bodies, and other Tumaim, such as a person touching a mace. Zav, one of the differences, Zav doesn't have to touch things to make it Tomeh, even if he moves it indirectly. We discussed it extensively in Daf Gimel Dalit, if I'm not mistaken. Which means, if a person is Chas V'Shalom Zav, and he is touching, yeah, I'm moving my Tudat Zahut, yeah, with my phone. So even if I'm not touching the Tudat Zahut, it becomes Tomei. Baruch Hashem, I'm not Zav, and I would never want to be. But yeah, okay, even if he's moving it without touching it, like that, it's called Hesed. Moving on. So now, all very good, it's all very easy. Zav Shechol V'Sa'ez. A Zav is milking the Ez, and let's say Mr. Zav thinks that he's very frum, and he's careful not to touch the milk. He's just touching the others. Doesn't help. Foolish. Tome. Why is it Tome? Because of his motion of squeezing, the milk is moving. If the milk is moving because of his motion, that's called Hesed. So now the Zav is Avatuma. He moves the milk even without touching it. Okay. You can't even wear gloves. Doesn't make a difference. The mice is moving to touching it. And therefore the milk is moving out, running down. Yeah. And because it's nisoit, moved by the Zav, becomes Tome. Okay. Problem is that this Mishnah does not differentiate between milking stam or milking into food. I don't know how common it is to milk into food, but apparently, what would be if the guy's milking into flour, into a cake, into I don't know what, something, yeah, chocolate cake. Then what? We still say that it's tameh. That's not good. Frag the Gemara, now you'll have everything. If you're telling me that food, no, drinks, liquids, that originally, as they move down, they're moved in order to come into the food. This Zav is not stupid. He has a plan. He wants to have his pasta with a nice milk layer on top, yeah? Okay, he wants his onion soup. The onions are solid, yeah? Oh, milk on the onions. So what? That milk right from the start, leaving the other, is what? Is solid. Why are you telling me it's tummy? What made it mukhshar latuma? Which other drink touched it to make it kosher latuma? If I have a tomato, an apple, potato, whichever without being touched by mashkim, it's not mekabel tuma. A zav can move it all day long. Yeah, 24/7. Doesn't make a difference. So why is it tame? What made it mukhshar latuma? Right? Answers the Gemara. Now comes the answer. There are a few answers. That's one answer here. As Rabbi Yochanan says in a different place about a woman's milk, which means, yeah, this is actually a fact of life today. Also, women, when they want to nurse the baby, they first express a little bit of milk, and then they start feeding the baby. Yeah, somehow it makes it better, easier for him, for her, for the whole business. Oh, that's called tipa meluchleches, which means a woman or lahavdil, the milk, not milkman, I don't know, the one squeezing the milk, the one milking, they bechavana, they first extract one tipa to make it easier, softer, more liquidy to have the to be on the udder, right? And that tipa is called mashke because it's not meant to be part of the food. It's meant to stay on the dot, to stay on the udder. And therefore, hachanami here too, but tipa melechech al piyadat, which means that tipa stays on the udder. I don't know for how long, but it stays there. And now the milk coming out is touching it. And hachanami. In other words, there is a drop of milk which is mashke, yeah, and every drop of milk that's coming out is touched by that tipa, and that tipa is mashke because that tipa is not meant to fall down to the pasta underneath, and that tipa is called mashke. Very good. That chol of A touching chol of B, making it mukhshar latuma. But we survived. The pshat survived, which means enochinami, a crony, conceptually. If the milk is flowing down into solid, it's called solid, both for Shabbos and for Tumah V'Tara. Meisiv Ravina. Now Ravina comes with a similar question from a different place. Before we continue, okay, let's translate. A person's meis. Meis, he touched the mace, it was an oil mace, whatever he did with the mace, yeah? Meis. Squeezing Zesivanovim. Okay, bad news. Zesivanovim. And now, what's the story? Kabetza mechubenes toho. Let me explain. First of all, the shiur for food to make something else tummy. Again, there's a mace. Well, let's just start from Bereshit Bara. Mace of Yavasatuma. Somebody touched the mace, Chevra Kadisha, I don't know. Yeah, touch the mace. Or carry the mace. What is he? Avatuma. If he touches the Zeisim Vanovim, well, he did apparently. What are they? Rishon Latuma. Right. Food that Rishon Latuma can definitely make, and it's one of the only things it can make, actually, almost the only thing it can make liquid stomach. The food that's Rishon Latuma, touched by an Av, the food is stomach. Food is stomach, no question. He touched a grape, they're stomach. Now, if the grape is the size of kabetza, it's to be a very big grape. If the grape is kazais of beitza, is excuse me, the size of a beitza, then and only then it has the power, the shiur, the size, to be metame a drink, to be metame a liquid. If it's less than kabetza, it cannot metame liquid. That's all we have to know. Whether to receive to metester be kabetza is a huge machlokas. The Rishonim and Achronim screaming at each other every time I open it. But everyone agrees that to give tuma, to project tuma, to generate tuma, food is only metame actively the drinks that it's touching when it is what kabetza. Funnily enough, what do we imagine when we think of food metame drink? You have food, anovim. Look, the anovim are nice, big size, nice. When we were in Spain, they're very nice, big zaysim, like an egg size, very big, really, almost like an egg. I mean, I'm not exaggerating. They're very, very large. In America, I don't know, in a very large zayt. So let's have a zayis the size of kabetza, and it's touching a liquid, it's touching milk. The milk is becoming tummy, right? However, sometimes, if you squeeze the zayis, as you're squeezing it, now what's coming out is a liquid. The zayis itself is metame, the liquid that's coming out of it. That moment of contact between the zayis, that's the size of a beitza, and the shemen, or oil juice that's coming out, the zayis, which is already tome from a long time ago, from the mace, that zayis, the beitza size, or grape beitza size, is metame. I'm squeezing. It's metame the what? The liquids that are coming out. Just to avoid confusion, make it much easier, the mace is not squeezing. The mace touched them already before all the Zeisim Vanobi made them tome. He's not touching the liquids that are coming out. I was very happy when I saw that in the Meforshim, in the Mishnah there, where I looked up the Mishnah, in the Mishnahs, he is only squeezing them by standing on a plank on top of them. So at the time of squeezing, the Tom is not touching anything. And now let them do the job themselves. Yeah? How do you kill your enemy? You let him kill itself. The actual juice coming out of the onov, of the zayis, if the onov zayis are the size of kabetz and is tome, nothing has to happen. This itself is tome. And now something, imagine yourself, this is the size of a fruit that's tome. Now, look, one drop is coming down. That kazais is metame, the drop that's coming out. Because as it's becoming liquids, it's becoming tome from the solid tome. If it's kazais kabetza, from the fruit itself, from the fruit that it came from. A second ago, it was part of a solid. So then it was part of the tumor. Now it's a new entity, mashke. It's a new thing, it's a liquid. But that liquid, as it's leaving home, it's still touching home. And home is tame. So now the solid piece of fruit is metame, the juice that's coming out of it.
We use a syringe.
What?
We use a syringe.
Why would that help? Still.
The fruit.
But at some point, it's still touching. At some point, it's leaving. Even worse. If inside the fruit is becoming a liquid, all the more so, because all the rest of the inside is tummy.
So doesn't that make
even worse?
That inside tummy automatically, once it's on the size of a beta, doesn't that automatically tummy the liquid inside?
Oh, everything inside that wasn't yet crushed is still called oichel. Only once it started leaking down, then it has a name mashke, and then it's being influenced instead of being the influencer. It's receiving. So that's why, now I understand everything. Now listen to the genius of the Mishnah. Kabetza mechuvenes. Let's say the size of the, whatever, of the zayis or onov is just beitza. Reb Chaim Noed, just beitza. So the second the drop left, it's less than kabetza. Then it's tahor, because then everything that's left is what is less than a beitza. It's 99.9 beitza. 99.9 can't make the renegade the left. The one drop can make it tome. But ayoysa mikabetza tome. As I said, if it's a little bit more than beitza, then once the drop left it, you still have one full beitza size to be metame what's leaving, and it's tame. Again, problem is, as much as Desi Banovim is the father of all mashkim, wait, but maybe I'm squeezing the juice into a nice fruit salad. Maybe I'm squeezing the oil into salad, very, very common. And you're still telling me that it's called a liquid that's becoming tome? Same question. If you tell me the mashka that's about to enter food in my mind and in my maisa, it's about to enter the food story underneath. It's called food. B'mais kashar. Again, what made it mukhshal kabel tuma? If it has the status of food, nothing can, of solids, nothing can make it tame because it wasn't yet touched by foreign, by different food, by different liquids. It needs liquids, other liquids, one of the 7 liquids, to make it susceptible to tuma. And we don't see that here. Here the Gemara answers the simple answer, the expected answer. He's the one who asks it and he's the one who answers. We must say that we're talking about the person squeezing into an empty bowl and not into solids. If you do that, and by the way, the Rishonim say could have answered the same answer before. Just looking for other creative answers. Could have answered. Yeah, if you search it into empty bowl, that's what is it called? Liquids. The liquids don't need other liquids to make them tummy. Ad kan tuma. Okay, now we're back to Shabbos. Amar birmia ketanoi. What's ketanoi? That statement of Shmuel and Rav, by the way, eventually we'll see both of them say it. Sorry, we'll see it. Yeah. Amar birmia ketanoi. What did Tanoim say? Meaning, that point that you told me that mash kebal oichel oichel, that thing we're talking about the whole time since 9:15, that all the food that's about all the liquid that in my mind and my maisa it's on its way with the help of gravity to enter my favorite solid dish. That liquid is already called solid. That itself is machlokes tanoim. Now the Zio Amaroim talk about it. Thank you very much. It's already machlokes before you. Machlokes tanoim. Where's the machlokes tanoim? A machlik banovim is a machlokes over here. What it means? I'm following Rashi here. Machlik banovim, according to Rashi, means let's say a person is making a nice challah, bread, whichever bread. Yeah, he wants to add very interesting flavor to the bread. You know what he's putting on the bread? Grape juice. Not mamash cake, bread. Before he puts it to the oven, he's now placing some. I'm not just before, after, but the bread is hot. The bread is either before being heated or right after being heated. Lo mishaneh. Lamaisa, the person is now squeezing or grape juice, machlik, smoothens, straightens what? Onto the, like women, you know, they do egg, right? They put egg on the challah, right? Instead of egg, he puts grape juice. This grape juice, what about them? What would you say, guys? What is it? That's solid, right? It's going straight into the bread. It's becoming total to the bread. Lo huchsha. Tanakama says lo huchsha, which means, says Rashi, here the issue is a bread. Says Rashi, this bread was nilosh, was kneaded not with regular water. Otherwise, the water would have made it already mukshar l'tumah. It was kneaded with all kinds of meiperes, orange juice, apple juice, whatever juice. They are not machshir l'kabel tumah. They're not one of the 7 mashkim. Now, for the first time in its life, this dough is coming into contact with one of the 7 mashkim. Dangerous thing. It's coming into contact with Mr. Mitzanovi. It's a dangerous guy. Mitzanovi makes you what? Mukhshal kabel tuma. Says Tanakama, lo huchshar. Why lo huchshar? Obviously lo huchshar. Why? Because that Mitzanovim is not Mitzanovim. It's not liquids. Is defined as solid. It's part of the bread. Very nice. Rabbi Yehuda Amar huchshar. Rabbi Yehuda says yes, huchshar. Rabbi Yehuda says yes, it's huchshar, meaning that grape juice, although it's now becoming part and parcel of the dough, it still maintains the name of liquid, and that liquid is liquid, and liquid of anadim makes a bread, what? Makes a bread, mukhshal kabel tuma. My love, v'akamiflagi, must be, that's the point of Machlekes, to the common Rabbi Masav mashka baloichel oichelu. Yeah, we're starting from the Tanakama. Any drink, any liquid coming into food is food. And therefore it can't make it kosher l'kabel tuma, mukhshar, because it's also food. Masav alav oichelu. And the other opinion says it's not oichel, it's liquid. Because it's liquids, mela, it can make it tome, make it mukhshar l'kabel tuma. Amal Pope, Rav Pope is rejecting this idea and says, no, here we have a huge machlokes in the Girsais, which is also affecting halacha l'maisa. I'm now following the Girsa that we have in the Gemara, which is the same Girsa of Rashi and Tosfos. Okay, later we may discuss the other Girsa. Amal Pope, the kula alme mashkaba loichel lavo. Wow, you hear that? Both Tanoim may possibly say that normally speaking, generally speaking, when you talk about, let's say, grape juice going into fruit salad, grape juice going into your, I don't know, some kind of dish, yeah? I don't know, chicken, yeah? After the chicken is cold. That's not oichel. It's called a mashke. Not like we said before. Against Rav, against Shmuel. What's machlokes over here with the bread? The oichel here, the machlokes is different. The mashke abal ibud kamiflagi. This mashke, as it's now entering the bread, it's getting completely lost. More than other drinks that are in the food. Why? Says Rashi here, it's going to get burnt in the fire of the tanur. Let's assume this is right before you put the bread into the tanur. That mitzanovim will be mamish burnt in the heat. You'll feel the flavor and the aroma, but it's not when you have in a cold dish, right? Let's say you have grape juice mixed with fruit salad, right? You take a thing about the fruit salad, make sure you make the right bracha with the eitz and adoma, but you feel the grape juice. It's part of it's tafel, but it's part of the story. You feel it. It's different. It's not a melting pot. It's a salad bowl, as Americans like to say. Masha'inken, when you talk about what? When you talk about the one that's onto the bread, it's mamish getting so absorbed and burnt. It's kilo being baked. And that's kilo called getting lost. And that's a machloikis. Then we have a machloikis. You hear what I'm saying? When you still maintain the identity of the grape juice, then everyone would agree it's still called mashke. Not like we said before. It is mashke, against everything we said. It's a big chiddush. But when this thing is becoming part of the bread, it's being baked, and now as you put it in the oven, that's it. It's all disappearing into the heat of the tanur, the grape juice, that's worse. And then Masava Mashku, Masava La Mashku. That's we have an opinion that says one says it's still a mashke. I want it and it's still separate always. The other one says no, it's not a mashke because it's completely absorbed and just burned, being baked with all the rest. And now we want to say that this machlokes of the bread, yes, or bread, no, is the grape juice on the bread that's like being absorbed and baked with the bread. Is it maintaining its status of liquid, or is it losing its identity and becoming food, oichel solid? Same is the different machlokes, the Tanya. Oh, here we have different cases of a person who is a person is now pinching his zaysim. A person is pinching his olives in order for the olive oil to come out. Can have at least 3 reasons why a person will do that, and every reason gives you a different halachic status to the oil. Option number 1, one. A person mefatzeh bezeisim, he's kind of hitting and he wants to squeeze the zeisim with his tome hands, his mesu of his tome. His hands are tome, whichever reason, I know his tome from something. Now, if he's mefatzeh bezeisim and he wants his zeisim to be soft, then the oil that's trickling down, what happens when you pinch the zeis? The oil's coming out, right? Now, that oil he's happy with. Why? Because it makes him softer. The oil on the outside, that's what he wants. He wants to soften his olives. Very good. That's huksha. Huksha is when you want it to be. You want the oil. You want the oil to serve as oil. You're happy that the oil. So why are the zeisim tome? Obviously, they're tome because they're touched by oil. You are tome. The oil. You're happy that the oil is on them. Is outside because it's softening them. That's everything you need to make it tome. You have the tuma, you have the hechsher of the oil you're happy with. Mazel tov, it's tomim. Second case, l'soifton b'melach lo huchshav. What does it mean? Let's say he wants to soften them not very much. Important. He wants just to soften them a little bit so they should absorb the salt. Says Rashi, when the zayis, we see it in reality, try and put some salt on a banana. It's not going to last. It's going to fall, right? It's too solid and too smooth to accept, right? If you want to, right? Oh, therefore, if you have the olives and all you want to do is soften them a little bit, so the salt will hold. Yeah, will hold while you're covering it with salt. You want them a little bit softer, but not very much softer. Then lo huchsha, because then the oil is not good for you. It's making them too soft. You're not interested that much of softness. You're not interested in the oil. The oil is not a mashke, not muksha, no nothing. So is das. Third case, later migiu zeis of limsukim lav. Oh, now it's parent. All he wants to know is he doesn't care about the oil. The oil is just getting lost. He's just pinching it to test if the oil that's inside is already good and ripe enough to start the masik, to start picking the other zeisim. The oil they're just not trying to make any difference. It's testing. It's a lab test. Yeah, the thing is falling and that's all. The mashke is trickling down. Then lo huchsha says lo huchsha. Why? It's going to ibud, similar to the cake. In other words, here the oil is just going and getting lost. It's falling on the floor. Says lo huchsha. Why? Because it's considered to be solid. Rabbi Yehuda says it's liquid, so it's huchsha. Yes, it's called liquid. That's a machlekes. The masa mashke med libud mashkeu. One of them holds it's a mashke. Rabbi Yehuda holds it's a mashke. When it's just getting lost, I do want it out, but I don't want it out in order to use it. I want it out, and I don't care what happens later with it. I want the oil out, but what happens 5 seconds later doesn't interest me. That's a shaila. You can look at it both ways. What? Of the olives. Then one ten holds mashke with libud mashku, masavala mashku. Then come holds it's not a mashke. Same thing. So we see the same machlokes, but the bread and by the olives. And with that we'll finish. No, not true. There are two separate machlokes. One machlokes is mashke that's getting lost, going into a loss. It's falling on the floor, and the worker will clean it. Finished. The machlokes. The hanach tanoi b'mashke with letzachtzich kamiflagi. The other machlokes of the bread is not the same. By bread, it's not exactly going ibud. By bread, it's going letzachtzechoi. What does it mean letzachtzechoi? It's going to shine, to make the bread nice and shiny. It's going to make the bread like you give it the glaze, like the egg. And then it's a machlokes. Why? It says Rashi something very interesting. Even according to Man Domer says mashka b'lochel mashkehu, which we said before, mashke, that's only when you use it as mashke. Here, letzachtzechoi is again getting very absorbed in the bread. There are 3 levels here. Again, if you use let's summarize. Using the grape juice to put it into the fruit salad, according to Rashi, which is not la'alocha, Rashi tells us it's still called mashke. Here, look, you can see it, you can feel it, you can taste it. It's tofel, but it's there, right? It's like the croutons in your soup. You see them and feel them, even if they're tofel, the shakal ones, yeah? Now, what about the ibud? Ibud is one machlokes, completely getting lost on the floor. Another machlokes is letzachtzechoi. Why? Letzachtzechoi means I don't feel, it's not ibud, it's not completely getting lost on the floor. It is in the bread and I want it there. But it's not mamish like feeling the taste of and seeing the wine. It's not, because it is kind of absorbed completely in the bread. And that's another machlokes. That's how Rashi is learning it. It's a very, very good place to stop because it's Ma'ariv and it's also a place. Listen, guys, plan for this week. I'm not going to be here on Tuesday, Blineder, of some family thing. So tomorrow, to clear my conscience, is it okay if we start at 9? I mean, even if we're not here, but you'll try. Akiva, 9, okay? I'll post it also in the WhatsApp group. Yeah, whatever. 9? Okay, 9 Blineder tomorrow. Tuesday, as of now, no. Okay, good. Sorry. Shkoyach, atzlacha brocha, very The next thing is very, very good halacha, and we're going to get to the Mishnah tomorrow, hopefully too. Thank you.